Welcome to NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and on today's show, we're going to look at the latest NBA news and rumors around the league. We are just about 2 weeks away from opening tip-off on October 22nd, where we're going to see Knicks versus Celtics, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But welcome in, because we do have a lot to talk about. And before we get into everything on today's show, I want to make sure you guys are subscribed and a part of the Noti gang, because when the season gets started, we are going to have a lot of coverage on the NBA front, but we're also still doing college football and the NFL as well. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you click the notification icon and turn them to all. Only 16.4% of you are all notifications turned on. Let's change that because we're dropping daily content, so make sure you never miss a beat around the NBA, but as well as the sports world. All right, the first topic on today's show is Karl-Anthony Towns to the Knicks. Now, we have not talked about Cat to the Knicks on this channel. We've obviously covered it on our Knicks channel, of course, and if you're a Knicks fan, make sure you're subscribed to Knicks Now by Chat Sports. Marshall Green does a great job, but we've yet to really talk about it on NBA Now and what it means for the landscape of the league. The trade shocked everyone. I remember I was actually out with some friends on a Friday night, and all of a sudden, we just get a boom, Cat to the Knicks trade. It's like, what the hell is going on here? And the details are pretty stupendous as well. Cat and James Najee go to New York. Julius, Randle, Donte, DiVincenzo, Keita Bates-Diop, and a first-round pick that is very much protected, by the way. It's almost a non-factor in Detroit. Goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Hornets jump in there as a facilitator for that three-team deal. But listen, the headlining thing is obviously Cat going to New York, and this is the final move, you can suppose, by Leon Rose to really complete this Knicks build, as that started with the trade of Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, the signing of Jalen Brunson. This feels like the culmination of it all. Like, how is the roster going to be better than it is right now? So the Knicks are in the most win-now mode they have been in probably since Patrick Ewing and the crew, if we're going to be completely honest. But listen, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on the Knicks fans out there, but in my personal opinion, this trade is a big move. It obviously improves the chances of the Knicks winning the NBA title. But in all likelihood, I don't see this as the move that puts the Knicks over the top and is able to make them the NBA champions. Because when you still think of the teams around the league, I would give the Boston Celtics a better chance to win. I'd give the Oklahoma City Thunder a chance to win more. And then maybe you're going to talk about the Knicks now, but when you think about teams like Philadelphia, as well as they improved with Paul George, Tyrese Maxey taking another leap, Embiid if he could stay healthy. I also like some of those supporting cast members they have, like Kelly Oubre, Kyle Lowry, Andre Drummond. They got a lot better this year as well. So honestly, New York, they might still be in the same spot they are right now, is just maybe barely better than Philly, but nothing much more than that. Now, the main thing that Cat's going to bring to the table for the New York Knicks is his three-point shooting. And when you think about this lineup that New York can run, and this very well might be the starting lineup for New York. They might start Deuce McBride at the 2 after losing DiVincenzo, and then really just move Josh Hart to that super sub sixth man for this team. Now, they could start Josh Hart, or maybe they go with Miles McBride. And if they do that, they will have maybe the most lethal catch-and-shoot three-point team around, and the ball movement on this ball club is going to be fantastic with Jalen Brunson playing quarterback, just kicking it to everybody else, but also be able to obviously create for himself, because 4 out of the 5 players in this potential lineup for New York shoots 40% or higher on their catch-and-shoot three-pointers. Josh Hart wouldn't make this list. Mikal Bridges, you obviously see on your screen right now, is the worst three-point shooter off the catch out of anyone here. But that's what Cat brings to the table, the arguably best shooting big men of all time. And when you start to feel like what this Knicks team can accomplish in New York this season with Cat, I truly do believe that, even though I just said a second ago that I don't know if this really raises the chances of them winning a title by that much, it does a little bit. I think it strengthens their hand against the Boston Celtics. I think they now match up with Boston a lot better than they did before this trade when they were employing Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. But I kind of think it weakens their hand and ability to beat a Philadelphia team and maybe another team out there that has a significant big man that can really space the floor and move. Like, they now match up really good with Boston. You really go top to bottom here. Brunson and either Josh Hart or Deuce in the backcourt versus Holiday and Derek White. Then you have McHale and OG Anunoby matching up with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And now Kristaps Porzingis, that when he played this year was just such a dominating force on the perimeter for the Boston Celtics as well as inside. Well, Cat plays a similar brand of basketball in terms of the offensive side. Not as good as a defender as Porzingis is at the rim, but he can match up outside in the perimeter against Porzingis, contest him, bring Kristaps out to the perimeter so he's not able to protect the rim as much, and you let Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, and OG Anunoby get to the rim. So there is a chance that they are able to now easily take down the Boston Celtics. I mean, I shouldn't say easily, but it's more capable for them as it was in the past. More to come here before we round out the conversation on the Knicks, but let me know. Don't be biased. What is the ceiling for this New York Knicks basketball team? Is it the NBA Finals? Is it champions? Let me know what you guys think is ultimately the ceiling on this Knicks team. And when you talk about the ceiling of this team, you got to talk about the big men they may have to face in the postseason. And we talked about Kristaps Porzingis. We talked about Joel Embiid. And the fascinating part about this is that these are how the two players have matched up against Karl-Anthony Towns in their NBA careers. Embiid has played 11 games against Cat, Kristaps 12. And both actually share pretty good numbers against the 7-footer now in New York. Embiid, you see the numbers up there. He does this against everyone, though. But the part that's so fascinating to me when it comes to Joel Embiid is the efficiency in terms of the way Joel Embiid is scoring the basketball. Look at those numbers. He shoots 51.4% and 45.5% from three in those 11 games where he plays Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, obviously, some of these games include him as the 4 in Minnesota, and Rudy Gobert is there, but it is something to note. There's also some history between the two players. If you remember the little tussle they got into where Ben Simmons ultimately choked out Karl-Anthony Towns. It's fascinating. But Porzingis has also had some pretty good numbers, averaging 20 a game, blocking 2.2 shots per game, and shooting 43.3% from three. Listen, this obviously makes the Knicks a better ball club, but it is fascinating to me to see the two bigs that he's likely going to have to go up against in the biggest moments in the postseason, if everything holds true to form, ultimately have really good numbers against Karl-Anthony Towns in their NBA career. But on the flip side, and to stay positive here before we really do round out the conversation on Cat, I am very fascinated to see how the Knicks use Karl-Anthony Towns, offensively and defensively. Over the past couple seasons, ever since the Rudy Gobert trade, Cat has played the 4 after playing the 5 his entire career. And he became an improved defender as a 4 with Rudy Gobert in the paint in those two big lineups that the Timberwolves use so often. So how will Karl-Anthony Towns fare going back to a lineup in a role that he traditionally had when Minnesota was struggling, when he was the center and the Timberwolves weren't winning many ball games? It's going to be interesting to see how he is able to defend as well as play in this scheme that Tom Thibodeau has that features a lot of Jalen Brunson, and then everyone else kind of falls in line. We are sponsored by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform out there, and you can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can do it in basketball as preseason is underway. You can still do football, hockey. You can pick whatever sport you want, and if you sign up today, and you can get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season, and obviously with basketball season just around the corner. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in as less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. You can do anything you want, and it's so customizable, which is the reason why I like playing Prize Picks on a daily basis. But you can also go season long, as I did here with this upcoming year. I got the more than on Bam Adebayo, 9.9 rebounds per game, more than on 6.8 assists for Jalen Brunson, which was before the Karl-Anthony Towns trade. I would expect that number to go up a little bit. And then I'll also take the less than on Zachary Sachet, 10.2 points per game. The #1 pick I don't think is going to be that well. But either way, if you want to turn your hoops knowledge, ball knowledge, whatever knowledge you want into some serious cash, use Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is going to be in the description and comments of today's video. I am very excited about Prize Picks returning here at Chat Sports because I use them every day and I explore you to do the same. All right, before we move on here, I do need to give some shout out to Charania, who says the breaking news of the day. I am honored to join ESPN as the company's senior NBA insider. He is going to be taking over for Adrian Wojnarowiski, who is obviously now at St. Bonaventure. Yes, you heard that correctly, as the GM of their basketball program. Shams joined the ESPN. And this isn't his first breaking news for ESPN, but it did come in yesterday. The Clippers and forward P.J. Tucker have mutually agreed for the 13-year-old veteran to be away from the team as the sides work toward a resolution of his future. And this is such a fascinating storyline in the NBA because, I mean, listen, we did this last year. The Tucker Clippers not working out. Tucker got shipped with James Harden from Philly to Los Angeles at the beginning of last season, and I don't understand how these two have been together for at least a year now, haven't talked about this, and found a new home for PJ Tucker. I mean, in 31 games last year, he didn't really do much. I mean, he only averaged 1.7 points per game, and he wanted a bigger role. He wanted to get more playing time for Los Angeles, but it ultimately just wasn't in the cards for Ty Lue and company. But the real issue is he going to be able to be traded? I don't think he is going to be. Why, you might ask? Well, it's because of his cap hit. His cap hit in his final year of his contract, he is an unrestricted free agent this upcoming offseason, is $11.5 million. PJ Tucker was once a really above average defender, a great role player, a valued piece of an NBA title contending team, as we saw with Milwaukee back in the day. But at this point in his career, no one is going to want him at $11.5 million. It just is this cold, hard truth. Unfortunately, PJ, I feel like your time is up in the NBA because I don't see a way a team trades for you and wants to pay you $11.5 million this upcoming season. But maybe you disagree. Maybe you think there is a team out there that will trade for PJ Tucker. Well, you let me know who that team is. Drop a team in the NBA down in the comment section that should trade for PJ Tucker. I'm all ears. Just let me know what you think. To close the conversation on PJ Tucker, I do have a prediction for PJ. I predict that no one trades for PJ Tucker, and there is two options we'll then pursue at the end of the deadline. And the first one is that he's bought out, and I think the Clippers, if they're struggling, which I kind of project them to do, they will ultimately buy out his contract, and Tucker will then re-sign with a team contending in the postseason and join their roster. And maybe he does get traded, and if he is traded, he'll probably just be salary filler. And then guess what? He'll probably be bought out anyway. So I feel like he is going to be ultimately bought out to end his NBA career. Listen, he's going to be 40 years old next year. Tucker, great career, really good player, but I think it's time for him to give it up. All right, the last thing that we'll talk about here is Jimmy Butler. Could he be the next move, the next star player to be traded after Karl-Anthony Towns? Well, Tim MacMahon of ESPN said that if you talk to people around the league and say, who's the next big name or star caliber player who gets traded, there are at least some eyes on Jimmy Butler. And we know the Golden State Warriors have had a little bit of interest in Jimmy Butler in the past. But here's my thing. I don't think he ultimately gets dealt from Miami. I think the Heat want to keep him from this year. I think Jimmy wants to stay in Miami and sign a long-term extension with them because he knows that they're the only team that are going to be allowed to offer him that 2-year supermax he can get in free agency this upcoming year. So he hopes it works out in the Heat organization. I think the Heat want it to work out. But here is the only situation. The only possible way that Jimmy Butler gets dealt away from the Miami Heat is if the Heat are bottom five in the Eastern Conference. Injuries galore, team stinks, and they just got to say, all right, we're blowing it up. And maybe Jimmy Butler does get traded. But I do not forecast that happening one bit. If you want more NBA content, make sure you follow me over on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff, Twitter X, whatever you say. Season's just around the corner. I'll be covering it on a daily basis over on the Bird app. So make sure you go give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff.